A good afternoon to you, our viewers at home. You tuned into Open Studio. This is Cape Town TV, channel 263. I'm your host for today, Thabang Segaecho. I'm so glad that you could actually be a part of the conversation today. On today's program, we've got a special guest, Mr. Willem Arendse, right, who's actually a bona fide Cape Townian, right?
Yeah,
Yes, and today you are here to share with us your inspirational life journey, your stories, that I'm sure a lot of our viewers could actually walk out feeling quite inspired. Welcome to the show, sir. I'm so glad you could be here.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, I'm grateful. And to South Africa and Cape Town. Yeah.
Awesome stuff. I like that. I love that. So, Mr. Willem Arendse, who is Mr. Willem Arendse?
Oh, that's a fantastic, actually a big and excitement question. Yes, this is what I've been working on for some few hours to say, where am I? Yeah, Mr. Willem Arendse is of course myself. The real Willem Arendse, it's a humble guy from Cape Town. I'm born here, born and bred here. Joy Cape Town, yes. I had the opportunity to do the 9 provinces, but Cape Town,
It's your home. I agree. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And I understand that you were born in Cape Town, but in Philippi, you grew up in a farm there. How was it like for you?
Ma'am, you know what? When you ask these questions, that question, it's like pre to your preschool. Taking me back to when I get to myself, I realized that my parents were working on the farms in Philippi. So the Philippi horticultural area, and I was just a very small one with some idea walking around and playing around, but it was good and bad. Yeah, it was good and it was bad.
Wonderful. So I understand that you've got a sister, and now and again, because I'm sure your parents or those that were looking after you had to be out to work, as it was most common, back in the day. You would stay without supervision. How was it like for you?
Yo, not nice at all, because I was the older one and she was younger. And so when they go into the lanes early morning, it was me all on we two all on our own. And then, yeah, all that, mom makes sure, guys, there's your something to eat, and we are on our way. And at that time, the place were very like, there was not really real houses, like more your machocho manis, hockeys on the farms, and yeah, it was just like there was nothing to do, something.
Right, so it was just really basic living, right? Unlike today, where there's just so many things going on, the youth today is so different from your time, right? What are the most, I would say, memorable, times about your childhood that you actually enjoyed, that you'd like to share with us?
You know what is most touchy is like before I went to school. Because when CTV asked me to come into this interview, it was based on me dropping out at 10 years old from school, and we used to call that standard 2. Today they call it grade 4. So I didn't finish at all, like in the quarter or in the middle. That was my last years of going to school. So yeah, but I want to go back before I went to school. That were like bad years, because during that time it's like I clearly remember how my father or my parents went to live from farm to farm. So and as a child, myself and my sister and whoever had to go. Tomorrow we wake up here. Next week we wake up that side. The next month we wake up in the other farm, and the environment is all like more down and more bad than expected. And I'm talking about at that time we went to school at 7, so that was a rough ride before even when I was 7 years old.
Yes, I can imagine. I mean, as a child moving from one house to the next, and there's like a bit of instability and stuff like that. You also mentioned, you shared with us that there was a bit of substance abuse within the family. How did that come about?
Well, very, very, very bad. Very bad. I remember the Philippine horticultural area had an adopt system. They call it adopt system. Like your parents work and the farmers give your parents wine. So wine in the morning, wine at the midday, and even 2 or so bottles of wine when they come home. So you continually, I remember that you were continually amongst your drunk parents. And after some years, now that I'm an adult, I went to do research and say, they are not to blame for this. Because it was a system within the horticultural area amongst the farmers, most of them, to give the workers wine. So when they go to work, when they come from work, and that abuse, because I remember when my father, when my mother started to cook, so they had to make fire and then cook on the fire, and we as children, we can identify, there's the wine, how she's like drunk making the food. My father, and lately even sometimes getting violent because of being drunk. You see. And that, I want to stress and say it again, it's even when I was not even 7 years old.
Not even seven
Not
years
even
old.
7 years old.
So that went well into your young adult years, or was it just when did
As
it
a
ever
child.
end? Just
As a child.
in the farms.
In the farms.
If I may ask, are those kind of systems, if I should put it that way, do you know, are they still actually being practiced today, where employees are still being given?
I'm not on the farms anymore, but that did continue for a very long time. Currently, right now, I'm walking around and you will find now people are selling wine on the farms. So it has moved maybe from the farmers giving the wine, having the employees currently right now selling it to each other.
Selling it to each other and to
each
others
other.
outside of the
That's
wine.
correct.
Right. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation. Do not go away. Welcome back. If you've just tuned in, you're watching Open Studio, and today's program is just one of those many that I'm sure our viewers can relate to. I'm so glad that you could make it today, Mr. Willem Arendse. Yes, Mr. Willem Arendse. You know, just before we went to the break, you just explained to us how the system would work, where your parents were exposed to a lot of substance, you know, and therefore it ended up that they became pretty much hooked to alcohol because of how everything was in relation to how they were working. I understand that from moving into the farms, eventually you moved into Constantia because your dad was working for the owner of the house. How was the transition for you?
Yeah, the next moment I realized that we live in Constantia. And you know, Constantia in Cape Town or South Africa is one of the richest, the wealthiest, most people of South Africa. And I realized people who know Cape Town, when you go through Cape Town to Hout Bay, you will find there's a shop, and my grandparents used to live next to the shop. So it was my grandfather working for that owners. And circumstance has then brought my father and my mother and their children to also go and live in the very same house. There we speak about like 5 families in a 3-room house, and everyone was just living there.
As I assume the 3-room house was the servant quarters they would have within the same
No, ma'am,
building?
one building.
Yeah.
One building, no servant quarters, so
Okay.
you find your place.
Yeah.
3 to 5 families within this house. Yeah.
How was that for you? I mean, I can imagine the dynamics, you know. How did you find that experience?
Ma'am, you know, Tabang, that was like, in the one side, you are in Constantia, the other side, you find like your grandfather, your grandmother is also alcoholics. Your father, your mother, those who love wood, um, like alcohol is now the thing, and we as children, I can remember as I grow up amongst the others now, you really don't care because what I identified at time is like, okay, this is life.
Right.
Yeah, this is life. Um, to have alcohol, to drink, to swear, to do all these things. This is life. But standing in this yard where all the negative happen, you look over the fence and you see the wealthy houses, the cars, the white people enjoying life. So there was a bit of
Yes, it was
yeah,
a bit of an off balance. I mean, as a child, you're trying to understand what is
very,
really going
very,
on.
very much.
Is that maybe one of the reasons why you decided to remove yourself out of the situation by actually leaving home?
I went to school. So when we lived with our grandparents, my mother put me in a school in Constantia. So there was that time it was like a Constantia primary school. It's in Spansmart Road, and it was a college school at that time. And she went to put me in that school for the first time, and it was fantastic.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
It was great A, fantastic. I went to it like I can remember the half pins and bare feet, and but you because this is a different environment. The teachers
Completely.
were compared to what you have to return to.
How did you cope? Did you obviously you made friends, like you're saying, it's a different environment, and you're with the rich kids, I guess, of Constantia, right? How did you relate? Did you make friends? Was it easy for you?
Not really the rich kids because that school was your public school.
Okay.
Down the road you will find your international schools for the whites, and so this was only a colored school. But in that time, and I can remember it was in the heart of apartheid, and I can remember various times you find that even when these police vans come in, there's some black uncles or black aunties, and then you see, and I was really getting the picture what is going on, but I did enjoy the grade A, the grade B, and as I then went to the grade one and the grade two, and as I went to grade four, then become the problems.
Right. So is that the time when you actually dropped out of school and you actually left home? And how was it like for you?
I did enjoy that school, but if I can just mention that in that short time, I even went. I wake up. My parents live at another place called Vrygrond in near Justinburg, and I can remember as a child that I even attend school in the afternoon. So there was no space in the morning, and you had to go to school in the afternoon. When the other schools come out, the other students come out, you had to go in, and then I, due to this, I can remember that um, my parents didn't cope then. They moved back to the grandparents, and we are back in Constantia at the very same school where I was still in grade four, I believe. And it's where things have become a little bit complicated because after school, I went to myself and another friend or two. There was the Berkfleet area where we went to beg. So you know, there's nothing to eat really at home. So you went amongst these white people and you beg for food. And there was a word I can't remember, and I laugh at it. So we used to say to the madams when we see the white madams or the white guys, you say, "Madam, penny please," or "Master, penny please." And today, when I drive and I see a child begging, I look at the mirror, seeing myself
Oh, wow.
doing that. The question on the school dropout, I believe that at that time, what I can remember, middle grade four, things were bad at home. My parents had a fantastic, my father was a very good man, very strong man, very helpful. He had only that weakness at that time. I can remember there was fantastic people who even employ him and my mother. And I recall that at one time we did stay by very, very rich people at a place where he was working in the garden and my mother was in the house. And these people were so good. Um, Allow me just to mention that Fridays when the lady go to do shopping for her house, she took my mother with. And also do shopping for my mother, come back. What when we live there, as a child, I see some hope.
Mr. Arendse, won't you just hold it right there for me about the whole part? I would like for you to carry on when we come back from the break.
Thank
We'll
you,
be
sir.
right back. For those of you at home who've just tuned in, a good afternoon to you. Welcome to Open Studio. We are actually in the middle of a very interesting conversation with Mr. Willem Arendse, who's just sharing his love journey and just giving us, just a download on how it was for him over the years, way back when. And before we went to the break, Mr. Arendse, you mentioned that there was a glimmer of hope amid everything that you were going through. There was still that sense of hope. Won't you just touch on that for me?
Yes, yes. When as I was saying earlier, that with my parents, they were very, very good parents, very strong. Um, they were very like getting a lot of opportunities, and as I said earlier, they had the opportunity to work at this um, owner's house, and we also had the opportunity to live there. So when we lived there, I saw a bit of hope in Constantia. The only thing I didn't understand is the balance, because these people are wealthy. And we live here in like a 7 quarters. But you can see my parents are working there, and we children, we go to school and back in Constantia, walk back, and you can see this little, and I see some hope, because there were now food, there were now some a better environment. But it didn't last long. Alcohol abuse have also stole this by my late father and my mom. And we end up again at my grandparents' house, where the families living under one roof. So yeah, then another hope. My father was very, very, very lucky. There was another farm that employed my father, also in Constantia. And I believe I can remember when he went to work there, there was still, the conditions were bad. The conditions were bad because people were still living in hockeys, bad condition. But an owner, I think from Germany, as I can recall, bought the farm. And the first thing the owner did is remove all that bad living condition where the farm workers live in, and he built stunning houses for them to live in, which my parents were also the beneficiaries of it. And I think these owners were so great, they even arranged transport for the workers' children to school and back. And there, I don't know if I can mention the name of this farm on this show, but one day we'll go there and say, thank you guys. Because there I also see a bit of hope and see, oh, so this is life. And you know what, South Africa, you're gonna laugh at me. These owners built the houses with full furniture.
That's
They
amazing.
supply the beds and everything. You just come with your, as we say in Cape Town, your gonnies, ne? And I see hope.
That is amazing.
during that year. But again, alcohol stole, alcohol abuse stole that opportunity from myself, my sister, my brother, and my parents. When I opened my eyes, we didn't live there anymore. We didn't move, and we were back.
To the farms again, yes. So of course, a traumatic event, I can just
very,
imagine.
very, very much.
If I might just take you down some memory lane, you mentioned to us that eventually at some point you were in a dark place, you know, in your life where you ended up in jail and almost had like a near-death experience. Could you just share that with us, please?
The very same time when my parents moved and we lost all this, it's where I ran away from home. And I decided, no, I'm in school, this is not working. But another thing that added to also me run away from school is we used to get that money collection list. So you collect money and then you need to bring it back to school on Monday. So I had one and I've collected some money, and then when the stomach was empty, I eat. And then then on Monday when I had to go back, I feared that there was still corporate, I think, punishment.
Right.
So when you didn't adhere, and then that also had to say at home, at school, so this is not working, and I run away and switch off. I end up on the streets, and I ran so much that my parents could not find me, because I don't know if they were looking for me or I was just running and run around, stealing whatever you can with some other few guys that do the very same, bicycles and you name it. And I end up living in Bokmakiri. Bokmakiri is, if people look at down here nearby Etlon, and I end up, when I opened my eyes as a child, I lived in Bokmakiri in a big yard where there was cars. And me and this close friend of mine who are together with me, actually he was leading me, so I don't know who lead who. But yeah, we live there, and we love that the people of the house give us the car to sleep in. So every morning we went out, like people, young kids who work, but we actually go into house breaks and all this and bring back the values to the very same place where we stay.
So it was like an organized setup, would you say? Or it's just that you were doing your own thing, but there was no...
We were doing our own thing, but I can remember we was also motivated by the people where we live.
Right.
At one time, they even called us and said, you know, you two, we're going to take you to some Goma, and then what? I don't know. I just said as it is. Because we were still very young, and these people are going to make so-and-so with you, and then you're going to steal at a very high volume, and the police will not be seeing you. I think it was more like your mind playing with our...
Playing games with your
with
mind.
our mind, yeah.
Yeah, which, because for the sake of time, we don't have actually much time left, but really, I think you've got like a well of wisdom. What would you say to somebody right now, real quick in closing, just to give them some hope if there's a child watching right now that's going through what you're going through?
Yes, I will be telling anyone, any dropout guy, start to educate. I would say that, guys, is very, very bad, even right now. It's even very bad with all the unemployments and stuff. And if you have went through what I've went through, start by believing in yourself. Start to do the right thing. Because what actually happened, on the question that you have asked earlier, how did I nearly end up in jail? It's where at various times when we were doing this wrong, we were chased. But I would say by the grace of God, something was not supposed to happen to people like myself and so on. So we made it. But I will say to South Africa and the continent, any young person out there, any father, any whoever there, stand up, pick up the pieces, and start over.
Start over. And on that note, thank you so much, Mr. Arendse, for coming through. Really, it was great having you on studio. I hope you took a word or two of wisdom coming from our guests today. Until next time, it's a good afternoon from myself and my guest. Thank you for watching.